In Western culture, many people often dislike Friday the 13th because they believe it is an unlucky day. There is even a specific term for this fear called paraskevidikatriaphia, where paraskevi means Friday, dikatriaph means 13, and phobia means fear, from Greek. The question arises, why is it specifically Friday the 13th and not some other day or date? Although the origin of the fear surrounding Friday the 13th is not entirely clear, scientists have not found any written records of this fear before the 19th century. However, superstitious beliefs about the number 13 date back to the 18th century BCE. In the ancient Babylonian Code of Hammurabi, established in 1772 BCE, the number 13 was omitted from the list of laws. In Western culture, it is also believed that if 13 people dine together, one of them will die within the year. This notion stems from the Last Supper, where Jesus dined with his 12 apostles before his death, and from a Norse myth, where a dinner hosted by Odin and his 11 close friends was disrupted by the 13th guest, Loki, the god of mischief and chaos. In fact, the number 13 has been considered cursed across the world for thousands of years and remains so today. Many cities do not label streets or avenues as 13. Many skyscrapers skip the 13th floor. Hospitals avoid naming rooms with the number 13. And airports do not have gate 13. Friday is also considered an unlucky day. One hypothesis suggests this is because Jesus was crucified on a Friday. In many 17th century publications, Friday the 13th was viewed as an inauspicious day to set sail, start a new project, or mark significant life events such as weddings or childbirth. Wall Street, the financial hub in the U.S., has harbored fears about Friday the 13th for decades. On October 13th, 1989, it witnessed the second largest drop in the history of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. According to some legends and fictional stories widely believed to be true, the British Royal Navy once launched a ship named HMS Friday in the 1800s to dispel these fears. The Navy chose to set sail on a Friday, commissioned the ship on a Friday, and even selected a captain named James Friday to command it. Then, one Friday morning, the ship embarked on its maiden voyage and disappeared forever. Another legend relates to a tragic Friday the 13th in the Middle Ages. On Friday, October 13th, 1306, the King of France imprisoned and tortured the Knights Templar, marking it as a day associated with evil. History professor Michael Bailey from Iowa State University, in an interview with USA Today, stated, "The fear of Friday the 13th originates from Christianity. Jesus was crucified on Friday the 13th, and since then, people have considered this day a bad omen." Bailey, an expert on the origins of superstitions, added that during the Middle Ages, people avoided holding weddings on Fridays, and this day was not chosen for starting long journeys. Around the world, many theistic scientists and spiritual researchers have made efforts to prove that the number 13 and Fridays are merely ordinary concepts. In the 1880s, a group of prominent New York City residents founded a group called the 13 Club, chaired by Captain William Fowler, a Civil War veteran. Fowler himself had a life tied to the number 13. He fought in 13 major battles and was discharged on August 13, 1863. Yet he believed the number had no bearing on one's fate. Numerologists suggest that the number 13 is considered unlucky because it follows a lucky number. Thomas Fernstler, a scientist at the Center for Mathematics and Science Education Resources at the University of Delaware, explained that the number 13 suffers from an unlucky stigma because it comes after the number 12, which many consider a perfect number. A year has 12 months. There are 12 zodiac signs, 12 gods on Mount Olympus, and 12 labors of Hercules. Thus, the number 13 disrupts this perceived perfection. However, according to Alfric, not all cultures view the number 13 as unlucky. In Buddhism, there are 13 Buddhas in the Shingon school. The Tibetan Book of the Dead mentions 13 auspicious signs. In Italy and China, people fear the numbers 17 and 4 more than 13. In many Spanish-speaking countries, Friday the 13th is considered a lucky day. It is also believed that Friday the 13th is an especially fortunate day for children born on it. In India, this day is not considered unlucky either. One of the world's most famous artists, who loves the number 13 despite its unlucky reputation, is Taylor Swift. Early in her career, she often performed with the number 13 written on her hand, treating it as a good luck charm. The singer once shared, "I was born on the 13th, I turned 13 on a Friday the 13th. My first album went gold after 13 weeks. I once sat in row 13, seat 13, or row M, the 13th letter in the alphabet, and I won an award. Basically, whenever the number 13 appears in my life, it's a good thing." Interestingly, when it comes to Friday the 13th, the number of traffic accidents, fires, and thefts is lower than on other Fridays, according to a study by the Dutch Insurance Statistics Center. The reason is that many people, out of fear, avoid going out on this day. Although there is no conclusive scientific explanation for the luck or misfortune of this day, many people remain anxious and observe various taboos when Friday the 13th arrives. Jane Risen, a behavioral scientist at the University of Chicago's Booth School of Business, found that superstitions can influence even those who do not believe in them. She explained, "Even if you don't actively believe, it's undeniable that Friday the 13th has become a widely recognized cultural phenomenon. When many people talk about it or unfortunate events occur on this day, we tend to pay more attention to it." She added, "This heightens your intuition, making you feel that the notion is somewhat valid, even without a precise explanation." In her research, Risen pointed out that both superstitious and non-superstitious people tend to believe that bad outcomes are more likely if they boldly claim that bad luck won't affect them. This mindset is particularly prevalent when it comes to Friday the 13th. Sharing this view, Rebecca Bora, a professor at the University of Cincinnati, noted that many people believe in the adage, "better safe than sorry." She explained, "It's like when you know the rules and follow them, things go more smoothly. For example, on Friday the 13th, we avoid taking big risks, or simply double-check everything around us. This brings a sense of reassurance." She added, "In reality, some superstitious people choose to stay home to avoid bad luck, even though accidents can still happen." Researchers from the University of Connecticut in New London noted that excessive belief and a degree of ignorance from ancient times have led to a fear and obsession with Friday the 13th, when it is just an ordinary day like any other. Psychology professor Stuart Vyse from the University of Connecticut stated, "If no one told us about the negative superstitions and taboos surrounding Friday the 13th, many people wouldn't feel anxious and would perform just as well as on any other day." Moreover, this fear has been reinforced through films, books, and stories, making the obsession even stronger. In conclusion, whether Friday the 13th is unlucky depends on individual beliefs and cultural perspectives. In reality, there is no scientific evidence to definitively prove or explain why this day has become a symbol of bad luck and superstition. What about you? Are you afraid that Friday the 13th will bring bad luck? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to follow our upcoming videos.